unnecessary, unexpected options. So, like I said, the purpose of this live is actually to also help myself and everyone. If anyone can hear me, I really appreciate a comment like the previous time. I didn't know that I was on mute the last time, and I really want to thank those who sent their comments. So, I'm just going to be reviewing this book. I already just have 10 minutes to go, right? Very quickly. Apologies for the delay. Just starting. I'm just getting used to this YouTube live thing. I already did some tests earlier, and I don't know why. I do not know why it's hard to cause some delays. Very unnecessary one. So I'm just going to be fast. The last time, I'm so sorry you weren't hearing. Um, the book we'll be reviewing today will be reviewing the first three chapters. Sorry, technically, we could say four chapters. Right, the introduction, chapter 1, 2, and 3. The book by Beverly Jones. Beverly Jones is actually a lawyer. She's a barrister by profession, and she just highlighted some few things we need to learn. I'm going to be going through it. Through the introduction, she just explained how you must know how to acquire skills as a career person. You must know how to learn things because actually, she said she has learned that you can't actually predict your career path. You really can't predict it. You really can't predict where it's going to take you most of the time, right? Career flow through many phases. She stated it how that career flows through many phases. You wouldn't just have one phase, or you wouldn't just be um, many phases. Yes, you wouldn't just be an expert at just one trial, right? She spoke about that in during the introduction. It's very important I highlight that before writing this book, she had already gotten decades of experience. I think about 30 years of experience, right? So she highlighted the fact that career as we see today is different from how it used to be, right? Those days we used to think career is just about being a lawyer, and she just explained how professionals today is not just about that, and career is not just about that. Of course, she explained that it's from the word profession, and from profession, you now have a professional. So you have a profession. If you are ethical and you are very good at it, then you can now say you are a professional in that. And of course, she explained. And one thing that I found very interesting in this book is the fact that she's not talking about leaving your job. She's talking about how to actually be very good even at your job and getting to the boss level. We are going to see that. Of course, she explained a lot how at first no one is actually very good in understanding where their career is taking them to, right? No one is really good in that. You can't really predict where your career is taking you to. You are not an expert in prediction. Many people graduate as engineers and end up doing something else. She explained that in the book during the introduction, right? And she explained what it would take you to think like a CEO and entrepreneur. It just takes planning. So the way I'm going to just go about it is I just underlined some necessary things and I'll just elaborate, right? So in this introduction, she gave a lot of insights, and she gave a lot of heads up on what to expect in the book. It's actually on how to perform well even at your job, right? It doesn't. She didn't. I was actually expecting how she would talk about building your business yourself, how she would talk about leaving your job, but she actually just elaborated on staying in your job and doing better till you get to the boss to perform better at work. So those were just some basic advice she gave in her first three chapters, some basic advice on how to perform better at work, not really how to leave your job, right? As I that was actually what I thought when I first saw the book. So she gave in chapter 2, right, how to if you want to perform better, similar to what she said in chapter 1. In chapter 1, you are going to a different company or changing slots in same company, same changing position. You have to learn what your boss wants. You have to get to know people. You have to work like crazy. You have to listen and learn. She is not really talking about leaving your job. She's talking about staying there. You have to learn to manage stress. Then she gave something very outstanding. If in your current job, if you have a current job, definitely. She talked about giving yourself 4 to 6 weeks to work like crazy. Of course, in reflecting on this book, it's actually good to know the author's background and the audience she might be writing to at first, right? So it might be different. So definitely the audience she's writing to in this book is those that already have corporate jobs. Maybe we can say that easily. Because most of the advice she's giving is just in line with that, how to manage stress at work. In chapter 2, also think like an entrepreneur wherever you are. She just talked about how to work better, and just some highlights. She talks about knowing your vision, where you are working, right? Knowing your goals, focus on the customer, definitely also where you are working. That is actually the focus she also gave. She talked about understanding the business basics, where you are working, right? And she talked about practicing failure. That's all she talked about in chapter 2. She just talked about how to think. And of course, that's just a catchy topic. Of course, not maybe not enough on how to think. Then she talks about how to listen. Listening is surefire. So she also talks about listening to your colleagues. The chapter 3 is just also very short. And most of the things she highlighted here are basic things that some soft skill programs must have taught you. She also highlighted, I think, what I've seen in McKinsey Forward Learning Program. So that's just it. Chapter 1 to 3 is just normal how to survive at work, and not really how to leave your company to go and start your own. She's basically just giving how to survive at work, tips on that. She gave story about a lot of instances about how she started. She had terrible days at work, but then she had to keep moving, and then she had to, work like crazy. She had to learn. And I think while we are going to go through this book is just all about how to probably survive in the corporate world, and then you start your own business. Of course, starting your own business, like you also said, you can't just start immediately without having the experience from the corporate world. From what she said, you need to have that experience. She gave an instance of her first clients, some of the clients she had um, where she was working as an employee. She used them when she started her own business. So I think that would be all. Thank you so much. And I really apologize for the technical issues we had earlier. It was just not really an oversight. I can't really explain what happened, but I'm sure it's not going to continue. Failure they say is usually good at the start, right? And I just started my streaming and it just started misbehaving. OBS time is behaving and all of that, but I'm sure going to figure it out, and I'm sure this is my first stream. Thank you so much for coming. We have a lot to do together. Tomorrow, same time, 9 p.m. between 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. But 9 p.m. I'm definitely surely going to start to talk about this book. Tomorrow, I'm going to try to cover 6 chapters. Today, just 3 chapters. Tomorrow, 6 chapters, because we have a lot of books. We have much more books to review together. This is the growth ritual, and thank you so much for coming.